Welcome, everybody, back to the CrossFire podcast. Thank everybody for spending their Friday nights with us. There is a bit of a storm heading up the East Coast. It's not affecting me so much, but you're going to hear a lot about it from my boy from the West Coast. Southbound is in the heart of it. Before we get to our guest, Southbound is with us, usual suspect. Our newest regular to our podcast, Rand. Like I said, this man plays so many games. He's our expert in-house analysis. And our special guest this week is Inferno from Four Guys with Quarters, who had me on their show, had Rand on their show, and I believe even Tim Dog's been on there. One of the originators, Inferno. Say hello and introduce yourself, please.
What's up, guys? Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. It's interesting to be a guest on a show instead of producing it and running it myself. So I'm kind of just kicking back, enjoying the whole thing. But yeah, I'm glad to be here and ready to talk about some of the news that's been going on.
Kind of nice sometimes, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely nice to not have to click a billion things and worry about so many factors. But I'm here to talk, baby. I'm ready.
I know exactly how you feel. Whenever I'm on any other show, it really is like that. You grab your favorite drink, you kind of hang out, you wait till you're actually asked something, versus like running the NASA controls, which is sometimes either Twitch in your case or Google's issues that they give us on this program.
Exactly.
One of the things I want to talk about, we're going to start positive, and then we're going to see where this goes. But realistically, I want to hear what everybody thinks is going to be happening. Supposedly, I believe it's February 24th or 25th. If I'm wrong, somebody jump in. That Microsoft's going to hold their first, basically Xbox One Windows 10 conference, and I think that we're going to see. I think we're going to see some surprises.
Yeah, the 25th.
Yes, the 25th. Thank you, Sal. And I really do think we're going to see some surprises. Now, before I give mine, I kind of want to hear what the panel. Sal, I know sometimes you got little birdies that happen to land on your shoulder and whisper in your ear. What? You hearing anything? Are you expecting AAA coverage? Or are you expecting?
Honestly, I'm hearing so far is Quantum Break. Obviously, because it's getting so close to that release, they'll probably focus more on Quantum Break than anything else. Maybe some Cuphead, something like that.
Okay, so those would be the obvious reveals. Do you think we're going to see? I mean, Phil's notorious for saying that there's going to be some AAAs in 2016 that we're unaware of. And, I mean, everybody always chalks up, well, yeah, that means Forza Horizon 3. But, I mean, I don't think he's saying that with the intent that he doesn't realize the people listening to him and follow him on Twitter are the hardcore guys. We all know that's coming. It's like call it.
Yeah, but don't fool. They're well aware of who's listening to them and who's paying attention to everything they're saying.
I mean, but so in that case, do you think that there is something coming that's unannounced that we may hear about now, or you think it's just going to be basically status quo?
Oh yeah, probably wait till E3. No, they'll wait till E3. But there's definitely a couple things that are coming.
Back, gentlemen. Dial them back a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, actually, Rand.
I mean, we're like, this is just an event for press to play Microsoft's games that are coming out in the springtime. That's it. Let's just say I've been told, do not expect anything. Quantum Break's the big star. It's going to be a Quantum Break reveal and stuff. You'll probably even...
Right.
You get some Killer Instinct Season 3 news, and then it'll be about, Cuphead, Inside Below. They're, into Xbox games. That's it. Do not expect, reveals. Do not expect, anything big, because E3 is right around the corner.
It's too close to E3. Yeah, it's way too close to E3.
So, I mean,
And, guys, I just want to apologize if I cut you off. I have a slight delay, so I don't know when you guys are stopping or starting and shit, so
totally
just bear with me.
So that's what I always do with this. Just dial the expectations way back. So if something really cool does happen, you're surprised. That's what happens a lot of time. A lot of people, they get their hopes and dreams up sometimes for these things, and then they get crushed when, something like.
Sometimes people expect way too much.
Yeah, exactly. So just expect Quantum Break news and maybe some Killer Instinct news and some more maybe release dates for some of the indies, the higher profile ones, and that's about it.
Personally,
go ahead. No, by all means, Inferno, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, personally, I think that them grouping together Xbox and Windows 10, that's like an emphasis on the announcement that they sent to the invited media. So I think the fact that they're grouping those together, we're going to see a lot more about multi-platform, cross-play, cross-buy kind of opportunities, and maybe nothing necessarily new that'll blow us away AAA wise, but stuff like Fable Legends in action cross-play. Stuff like that, Killer Instinct crossplay, stuff like that, and obviously what everyone else has said with, Season 3 of KI, Quantum Break, of course, but I think there's a reason for them saying Xbox and Windows 10 together, and I think that's why we're not going to get necessarily AAAs for Xbox One, but maybe...
I hope they do that, Inferno. Let me tell you why. The last time we saw anything that had any kind of crossplay characteristics at all showing up on stage was the Windows 10 reveal, when they showed Fable Legends, and they had somebody, Phil and another woman came out, another executive, I believe, and they came out and they were demonstrating it on stage, saying we're playing together and we're playing Fable Legends. I think that what they need to do with these Xbox-only events, all right, I think Rand knocked the ball right out of the park. Lower your expectations. That means I got to take my Titanfall 2 coming announced February 25th posters off.
Wait, you're gonna take off your Titanfall 2 T-shirt and hat and put them away for a little bit?
Yes, I'm gonna put them away. I'm folding them right now. Actually, I'm folding them right now. But literally, I think this is the time that Microsoft has the main stage to take your time, don't rush, and explain your actual future, what your future thoughts and what your actions are going to be in the next 18 months, 12 to 18 months, of what we can expect to see with Windows 10 merging with Xbox. And it really is, it's a seamless merger, and it should be something that people should welcome. I know there's a lot of hesitation. Anybody on Twitter that's a Sony guy that just wants to tweet you and bother you or troll you, say, oh, look, these exclusives are going. Microsoft owns that whole ecosystem. Okay, the PC world, they consider it theirs. Call it arrogance, call it whatever you want. But they have a piece of every piece of the pie, whether it be from the Windows that you need for Steam, Havoc, and who knows what they're going to acquire in the future. But they need to take their time and show the customers what it is that is going to be this cross-harmony. Now, again, here I go right back into Titanfall 2. But my whole pitch, and I'm not going to go down this road again, is just that Titanfall, for me personally, seems to be that amazing straw in the drink that blends everything together for them, what they're trying to do harmoniously between the PC world and the Xbox One. You've got a household name in Titanfall. The PC had it for Titanfall 1. They can cross-play and play on their own. Of course, they have to work out the little kinks with the keyboard and mouse versus controller. We know that. But it's a beautiful thing. Now, if they don't want to do it with that, fine. Then do it with Fable Legends. Do it with whatever you have. But show us and explain your future, your path forward. And that's not even asking for a lot, right, Rand? I mean, that's not me asking for the stars. I'm just asking for a better explanation.
I mean, the whole Titanfall 2 thing, I don't know. It's nice to it's nice to get your hopes up about it and stuff, and dream the dream essentially, right?
Yes.
But it's not showing up to E3. Let's just say that. It will not be revealed. You know what? Because last time Titanfall actually had the Game Informer cover. Remember that actually leaked before Microsoft's press conference?
Yes.
Kind of took some of the oomph out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened again, where we get leaks about Titanfall 2 and some images or something before the actual reveal of the game at E3.
I think the stereotyping behind something being revealed, and I'm with you, by the way. I've totally toned it down. I think it's exciting that they're having their own show, so we can get a little prequel before E3. But we saw that they announced something. They announced Tomb Raider at Gamescom. Of course, E3 is a lot of announcements. We saw that Sony at their first PSX announced the exclusivity they had, the console exclusivity with Street Fighter. And then everybody thought that this year's PSX would show something, and my God, it was awful.
Well, yeah,
you're talking about hits after hits after hits.
It was hit after hit after hit.
But I think Shu even said that it's hard, to do multiple. I mean, Phil's even said it's hard to do 3 shows a year. You don't have enough content.
No, it is. There's not enough content, right?
I'm sure we'll get some new announcements, but at the Microsoft one, but they'll be it at Xbox games. They'll be
Yeah, there'll be ID. Small. There'll be gigantic. What was the other one? What was the other one that was cross-play with Windows?
Oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank too now. I mean,
because
There was Gigantic, there was Fable Legends, there was another one, and now I'm drawing a blank. It'll come to us. But, Rand, you also said some Premier, and Southbound said it too, some Premier indies, and the ones I'm looking for, Cuphead is, of course, a fan favorite. Myself personally, and you guys don't hear this a lot out of me, I'm just not an indie guy, but I am really looking forward to Below. And I don't know why. I think it's because when I first read the very first article on it, which was a long time ago, I might add, and I think it's made by Cappy Games, and I think that they referred it to a Zelda game. That's how like people who have played it have described it. Now, what they mean by that, I've seen enough game footage where I'm not seeing Zelda, but maybe it's just the art style and the fighting mechanics of the original Zelda they're talking about. But that kind of game is something I can get into. I mean, are you guys favoring anything besides Cuphead?
Inside, but no, I mean,
Okay.
about Below, you're right. I'm really looking forward to that. If you've seen gameplay from it, you're right. It's Zelda meets with cross with like Dark Souls.
Yes.
It's got that very kind of exploration heavy. It's you die, you start with a new character, you pick up your old stuff. It's very Dark Souls-esque. But it looks really good. Definitely different from their last game, Super Time Force, for sure. I'm not saying that Super Time Force is a bad game, because it's not. It's just that, like, this is, like, kind of a step up, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Super Time Force would have been absolutely one of my favorite indie games of this generation if they didn't have the time element.
Right.
Or limit the amount of times you could respawn yourself in a different era. Because realistically, you could spawn yourself as many times as you wanted. You were fighting the clock. But when you got to the end and you used yourself multiple times with different characters, it was such a hodgepodge on the screen. It was just everything was lost, and because everything was done in that pixelated state, it was a mess.
I think though, out of the big three, like it's like seems to be the big three in Xbox games. It's Cuphead, Inside, and Below, and it seems like Below's the kind of like the third one. It seems like there's more hype. Well, especially more hype for Cuphead because people have seen more of Cuphead. It seems to be at every trade show.
Well, because Cuphead looks so original. Yeah. Exactly. It looks like an old school. The trailer for when you first go to the movies back in like the 60s or 50s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 40s or 50s.
And what's the other game? Oh, Inside. Nobody we haven't seen anything about Inside since they officially announced that. Was it last E3 or 2 E3s ago?
It was 2 E3s.
Yeah.
But all we've seen was that one little 2-minute trailer or whatever it was, and like nothing else. But that's all it needs because all you need to say is from the makers of Limbo.
I don't know if there's a bigger Limbo fan in the house. I've beaten it 3 or 4 times. I enjoyed the hell out of it, which is what makes me so concerned because they did bring it up a few years ago, and my issue is that the game really does follow the Limbo art style. You would think that they have. It's not like they have a new engine and it's this hard. You know what I mean? I'm really surprised, unless Microsoft is pumping the brakes, which I doubt it. I'm wondering why it's taking.
No, they want it to come out.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe this is an internal, could be an employee issue or just staff issues. A company that's caliber doesn't really make headlining news, so we wouldn't know until either the eventual end comes out, where the game comes out, or the game is just delayed indefinitely.
Well, I think.
You won't hear from until you talk to the developer and they fully explain whether it's a lack of employees, the team's too small, or the game just maybe the game is just not good enough right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody ever fucking thought of that?
Well, right. I mean, all the Below and Inside the games that have been announced for a while, they're all small teams. Like Cappy's a small team, Playdead's a small team, and I think Phil and all those guys are just like, hey, just make the game as good as possible,
Right.
We don't be here, and that's why I think that this event is, it's going to be a Quantum Break love fest because that's the main game, right?
Yeah.
But I think
it should be.
It very well should be, but I think we'll get release dates for Cuphead and Inside and Below because I think it's about time those games release because I've heard that those games are coming out Q1. But all 3 of them actually.
Yeah.
So
you guys just brought up a good point, and I knew Quantum Break was going to be the focus, but I thought Quantum Break was going to be like how you go to any event and then the encore, the big thing is. But I think you guys are right with it being Quantum Break, the main focus on this show. It's going to be a huge hour and a half advertisement for them, and it's the only game this spring. It's the first big launch of the spring, and it's a new IP. Do you think maybe if they continue this and they do another Xbox show next year, the focus will be for Scalebound and with the spring release? This could be like the way to advertise an unknown game. I think it's really smart.
Yeah, you're totally right. They could do this every year with like a game. Like next year, they could easily do it with Scalebound and say Sea of Thieves or something. You know, because Sea of Thieves is going to be cross-play with Windows 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say for this event that I think that they're going to show off a little bit, because that is a 2016 release, doesn't it?
There's no way that
it still is though.
It's still slated, but there's no way that game's coming out this year. Maybe
there's no way.
You know what though? Here's my thing though, Rand. I don't know if we can. I know where you're coming from, and believe me, the evidence is definitely on your side, not on mine. But Sea of Thieves did make Aaron's list that he tweeted out a short time ago to reinforce the strength they had in 2016. A. B. This is Rare's, like, if you will, comeback game, and they
definitely
listen. Just because they did Rare Replay. Listen, I'm not going to downplay it. I own it. I think it's great, and I grew up with those games, so that's all fine and dandy. But that really didn't consume a lot of the developers' time. So I think that they've been steadily working on this. I can't see why they couldn't make a holiday 2016 appearance. Now, if the game's not ready, the game's not ready. Don't bring it out because of anticipation. But I could see it still making. I mean, they've got a lot of people working at Rare. They're not a skeleton crew. No pun intended.
No, they're definitely a big studio, and they they're working hard on it, and they've been working on it for a couple years now. So I assume they're pretty far in the development cycle.
Let me ask you this, Sal.
But it all comes down to bugs, and you never know what could happen before launch.
You guys, here's my take on it, and here's what I'll say, and tell me what you guys think. If we see Sea of Thieves at the Xbox event, I would say it's coming out in 2016. If you don't see anything about it, except for maybe a quick, a passing trailer, then I'm going to go ahead and say, Rand, I think I forfeit my evidence and say it's going to be 2017.
Well, Mooch, the way we're making it sound as we're discussing it, it sounds like it is definitely a good candidate for something like the game preview program. They could maybe announce that it's coming to game preview at this event, and then it's perfect. It has that Windows 10, Xbox One crossplay, mixplay thing, and maybe game preview might make its way to something like Windows 10.
I don't see it. It's too big of a title for that. It's a AAA title. They want to have it come out, with the lights, the glamour, and everything else. They don't want to have the preview program involved in that.
Well, I know Aaron including that tweet, because if he doesn't include in a tweet, people are wondering, why isn't Sea of Thieves in your tweet? Is it not coming out this year?
Right.
Like that type of stuff. But looking at the games Microsoft has for this year, right? I just don't see a time frame they could release the game where it just wouldn't get buried, essentially. Gears is coming out, the holiday. Halo Wars 2 is coming out holiday. ReCore is sometime this holiday, whether it's between they said back half, so in between June and December.
It could be December. It'd probably be September or so.
Yeah, you assume so, but that doesn't leave a lot of room for Sea of Thieves anywhere, because then you definitely have Forza Horizon 3 somewhere, right? Probably October.
Right.
You got Gears in September or November. You got Halo Wars at some point. It's like their schedule's kind of full. Unless the game's
and that's one thing they have to learn from last year. They fucked themselves with their schedule. That it really impacted Tomb Raider. Whether you believe it or not, it impacted Tomb Raider. It impacted Halo. There were so many games that came out in the blockbuster season or whatever, the holiday season, whatever they call it, that it was just way too much. They have to learn from what they did last year for this year.
That's why Scalebound's coming out next year, probably the beginning of the year. That's why I fully expect Sea of Thieves to be sometime beginning of next year too. Because it just doesn't make any sense.
And that's the question I have, and I wish I could talk to Aaron or Phil or anybody right now and ask them, is the industry as a whole, are they going to start moving into pushing games out in January, February? Because the rest of the year is chock full.
You hear that, Mooch? He wants to be able to talk to Phil and Aaron. He just got a red phone in his place that goes right to Phil.
Yeah. when he left.
Well, I can't put that on blast. That's secret.
When he left for West Virginia, Phil stopped by the house, gave him a flip phone so it was inconspicuous. Listen, I got news for you. Here's my thing, guys. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing that we can only have games in January and February, November and December. You know, there's a lot. There's 8 more months in there we're forgetting about. What about the drought? What about the drought that is the summer? That everybody's drooling for a game. I think everyone's starting to find out now that we're having big releases in the spring. I think you're going to start to see something come out in June, July. Because why not? What? Nobody's got any money in July? That's when people vacation the most. People got expendable cash at will in the summer. So, I mean, my point is that we've got too many games, like you guys just said, to crush and corner into the end. And we're not even talking about the third-party games.
Yep, exactly.
Right? So here's my thing. Here's the rumors thus far. Gears of War 4 has been pushed forward, saying that it's going to come out September, October.
No, not true. Not true.
You think it's still
I'll tell you that right now. It's still going to be November. They never said anything about, that was just all speculation.
Okay.
It's going to come out in November.
Okay, like I said, it was just a rumor. I heard that. Okay, so fine, that's November. But I do hear very strong rumblings, and this is going to bring us into our next, we'll segue slowly. I don't want to jump right into it. But now I'm hearing Destiny 2 will not be coming in September of 2016. So,
shocker.
Yeah, right? So with September kind of officially opening up, does that leave room for like a Recore and a Sea of Thieves?
Yes. Yes.
September?
If you listen to the stories of like when Destiny 1 came out, publishers were so scared of that game. They essentially left the entire month to Destiny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're still kind of scared because it does have like a big user base and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think publishers will give it a wide berth. But now that supposedly, if you go on Kotaku and read the story by Jason Schreier, it's actually a really good article.
Yeah. It's actually one of the better ones that he's ever done. I was really surprised because I don't really hold a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I mean,
they talk about the hardships of developing Destiny and how it probably is not coming out this year. But yeah, you're totally right. If Destiny 2 is not coming out, or whatever they call it, because he even said they don't even know if they're calling it Destiny 2 yet. That
If
totally
smart,
opens up the door for Recore coming out in September. Or like a game to kind of kick off the holiday season, essentially. Like have Recore beginning of September, have it like birthed by itself, because most of the AAA barrage doesn't really start till like mid-October,
Right.
So yeah, give Recore a month to shine. There's no Destiny 2. I think that'd be a good, assuming the game's done, of course.
So much for
I
that.
think that'd be a good date for it.
So much for that 10-year cycle for the original Destiny, am I right, boys?
Yeah, that was the quote.
Yeah, that was so unattainable, anyways.
Yeah, definitely.
With all the updates and everything else, and people crying, and them trying to keep up with the demand, there was no way they were going to able to bring out another game this year.
I didn't think so either, and I mean, there's a lot of rumblings in the Destiny community that are just people are getting tired of it. A lot of people are leaving it. They still kind of float back and forth, but this is what we should hop into. It really does segue great. The Division coming out on March 8th. Here's the thing: excitement and skepticism, if you will. I have the excitement is wow, we're gonna get something new with a ton of new content. A lot of people that I've watched on YouTube that I really trust. One is Open World Games, does a really great job on the Division right now, breaking it down episode by episode, and it's great and all. But really, this is another setting, different guns, of course, different ways to level up in a certain aspect. But it's Destiny again. Let's call a spade a spade. And are we going to just run into this again, like 6 months after the Division comes out, that Ubisoft lets us down, and all of a sudden we don't have all these promised, boroughs. We're not going to see, the Bronx and
unfortunately, Mooch. Yes.
Yeah.
Because as gaming community, our appetite is insatiable, and
right.
We always want more. Going back to what we're talking about, announcements for E3 and shit. We want too much, and nothing's ever going to satisfy that appetite.
It's because we've been spoiled. Essentially, I mean, with digital, especially like with digital distribution and ID at Xbox and other indie programs being able to just provide us with games week after week and new stuff. I mean, back in the day when I was a kid, I mean, I'm only 28, but when I was a kid, like, there wasn't a new release every week or every 2 weeks. Like, when that new game came out, you cherished it.
That's right.
And now,
and you played it for a year or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Not, for 2 months.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, or in some cases 3 weeks. Like, you know, that's actually that's kind of the truth. I mean, and it's hard to even have a show dedicated to talking about that because people who tune in will be like, what are these guys talking about? But I mean, you take a game. When I went out, I'll never forget the day I brought home Ghosts and Goblins, and then when I brought home Super Ghosts and Goblins. When you bring those games home, I mean, I played them like I say all the time. Like my thumbs were bleeding. I was playing the game nonstop till I get to the end of this game, and you curse and. Of course, the Nintendo controllers, even when you slam them against the floor, they bounce back and hit you in the head. Like they were that's just the way that we used to play games back in the day, which was so rewarding about playing Ori, and it was I can't wait to play Cuphead. When I hear that an indie game that is a 2D scroller, that is really, really a hard game, really challenging, really gets me excited to play it and beat it. But I mean, you know, the whole thing is that with Ubisoft. I 100% agree with Southbound. I think we're in trouble. I don't think that I have more faith in Bungie coming up with more content than Ubisoft and that team, and that's not fair for me to say. But I mean, 6 months for $60, even if you paid for the additional map packs and all that other DLC, even if you're $90 or $100.
Yeah, I ordered the gold division.
Yeah, and so am I.
I did.
Let's give it the full try, right? So we're going to go for it. But if you get 6 months, 7 months out of a game, should we really be upset as consumers? Isn't that a good amount? I mean, nowadays.
Not at all.
No?
No, not at all. Because, I mean, listen, we're all adults.
Right.
I can go to have lunch and sit down, and my fucking drink tab is $60.
Right.
And that's for an hour or two.
An hour and a half, yeah.
Right. So am I really going to be mad that I spent 6 months on a fucking game and I spent $60 to $100 on it? No, I've got well above my money's worth.
That's my point. That's my point. I'm not upset with getting that kind of time out of a game. I mean, Destiny right now. Okay, so Destiny. I think if you started vanilla Destiny, help me out with this, Rand, or I'm Inferno. Jump in too if you're a Destiny guy.
I'm not, but I will jump in.
If you
Randall's not a Destiny guy either, man. You gotta talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
I know Rand's not, but I know Rand definitely got it day one. So,
yeah, yep.
But no, what I was gonna say with you. Okay, so South, tell me, if you were a vanilla day one Destiny player, and then you went all the way through up till today, how much did you pay out of pocket?
$100.
Well, I bought the game a couple times. No, I bought the game a couple of times. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying like
I'd say probably about $150, and then I even paid for some of that silver like an idiot. So that was like $15. So yeah, so about $115.
Yeah, but I mean you don't have to like if you're just talking about someone who bought Vanilla Destiny and then bought the expansion, that's $100.
Right, so that was 100, and then they bought the expansion for the Taken King.
So like 60 plus a season pass. Okay, so it's probably more like
140,
like 130 or something like
that.
Yeah,
130, 140. Okay, that's all I'm trying to say. Now that's a lot of money, I think, in the console world, right? Yeah,
it is a lot of money. It is. I mean, $130 for a game. I mean, that lacks content to a certain degree. Now you read this article and you realize that. Because you mentioned who do you trust more, like Ubisoft or fucking Bungie, right? To make content for a game. Like I don't necessarily trust either, but I'm sure.
Okay, but let me interrupt you right there, Randall. You know what? Listen, Bungie and Ubisoft, it's all about the money in the bottom line. But right now, Bungie hasn't had it coming out with the Festival of Lights. And this and that, and you get to fucking race a sparrow, but other than that, what, 4 months?
I mean, they have 500 plus people at Bungie working on the game, plus 100 plus people working on the game from High Moon Studio. Yeah. So they have 600 people working on Destiny, and yet
there's really little
there's nothing to show for it. It's like what's going on? It's one of the weirdest stories in gaming, and I think whoever writes a book about like what happened with Destiny, from inception to how they had to scrap it, redo it, all the stuff, all the behind the scenes, it would make it for an interesting read, in my opinion. Because here you have like the next great franchise from the makers of Halo, and it's like, in my opinion, like a fucking gigantic clusterfuck.
Yeah.
They promised this MMO with all this content. They liken themselves to like World of Warcraft, but It's like where is the content? Like there's nothing there.
But they don't want to call themselves. They don't want to say MMO. They don't want to classify themselves. They want to be in the class of their own.
It's interesting how they don't want to classify themselves as an MMO.
They kind of have an identity crisis.
The Division came right out and said they were one, which I thought was, that's noteworthy, and I applaud them for saying that. What's wrong with saying that? Some of the greatest money-making games of all time are MMOs on PC, right?
Yep.
I mean, with World of Warcraft, and my God, they go on and on and on. I'm not a PC player, so pardon my lack of knowledge there, but that's a moneymaker, and that's something you should be proud of. I mean, I think they're scaring people because they say everyone is in business to make money. So, there's other companies that care more than others about their product. That just shows in the end result. But they're all there because they got to put bread on the table at home. I mean, so I don't know. For myself personally, I really think that the Division is coming at the right time. If this came any earlier, it would have been
perfect.
It is.
It's a perfect time.
You're going to get every Destiny player to buy Division.
Because exactly. You think the people that are playing Destiny are getting tired of it? Fuck, I'm tired of ratings. You think they're not going to go and say, you know what, this Division sounds pretty interesting? And I mean, it's basically the same mindset. You get with a group of guys, go fucking, whether it's raiding or go, attack other people. It sounds like the pretty much basic premise.
Yep.
It really does. And
I mean, it's the next step, right? And if you think that Ubisoft or what studio's making it? Rand, help me out here.
Yeah, I don't know who the studio is actually. Rand's muted right now. He had to step away, but
anyways, yeah, they didn't look at Destiny and their playbook and think, well, we can't do years pretty much. Right. To study what Destiny did wrong, to try to improve upon it.
Right. I hope.
Now I'm not setting my my sights too high.
Right. I just hope the game launches bug free and runs smoothly. The other thing I want to, speaking of the Division, this news kind of broke out today, and I haven't seen anything concrete. But shout out to Next Gen 720 definitely did a video on it. I caught it, and I see a couple of things popping up. There was rumors a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and it had been stated early on that the Xbox One version of Division was going to be 900p. And a lot of people kept saying, just wait, because we all know the resolution part of video games in development is generally at the end. Near the end is when they start to tweak that and get that up to snuff to make. That's why they say they need more time to get it polished. So that's incorporated in that.
Right.
So now there's rumors that the Xbox One will indeed be 1080p. Now whether it'll launch that way or it'll be a first day patch that brings it to that, that's irrelevant. But what do your guys take? I'm beating a dead horse here for a reason. There's a reason. I'm not just going into this resolution debate for old time purposes. I'm going somewhere with this. What's your guys' opinion on whether or not the Xbox One version hits 1080p? Let's start with Inferno.
I would say that it is going to. I mean, granted, you're talking to a guy who, even through the videos, and I know we're under NDA for the alpha and whatnot. Right. But I mean, through the videos, even I wasn't too impressed with the graphics in terms of texture, fidelity, and everything. So I mean,
really,
I don't think I wasn't too impressed with it. I mean, I was impressed. It is a big world and everything. Granted, it looks like it's next gen, but I wasn't blown away to the point where, wow, this is one of the best games it's on.
See, I'm getting confused because now it's about 25% of people saying that, but the majority of people I hear, they're saying that they think the graphics look great. But there are some people...
It's beautiful. No, the game looks beautiful. Now, is it,
I think it's
100% flawless? No, of course not. I don't think. No, it's definitely, even down to the snowflakes and everything. You really feel like you're in a post-apocalyptic New York. Obviously, I've never been to New York, so that in my mind, this is exactly how I would assume that it looks.
Yeah, right. They're doing a good job.
The game looks polished. For it being an alpha, quote unquote, it seemed way more advanced than just an alpha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're doing a good job of.
And I know. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, bro. I don't mean to. But no, talking about the NDA or whatever, or embargo. You could say, hey, I played it and it looks beautiful. You just can't say, oh, well, you went and did this, that, and the other in the game. So I will go on record and say the game looks fucking amazing. Whether it's 720p, 900p, 1080p, whatever the fucking P's you got laying down in the drawer,
Right.
It's gonna look great regardless.
Yeah, I will join you there, South, and go on record and say that the graphics, even though I don't think it's the most polished thing I've seen, I think that the atmosphere tracks so well that you don't feel like you're saying to yourself, "Oh, look at these graphics! Look how poor they are." You know, you're playing through the game like you properly should, and you shouldn't be feeding into these people that just have 1080p versus 900p debates all day, every day on Twitter and stuff. Like, you're supposed to be enjoying the game for what it is, and the atmosphere is gorgeous. They've done an amazing job with it, and I am definitely looking forward to it based on what I've played, but. That said, like 1080p, it's welcome, obviously, but I'm not sitting here, jumping for joy that it's gone from 900 to 1080p. Like, that's not that big of a deal.
Bro, does it have those P's though?
I was waiting for that.
Because if it doesn't got those P's, I'm not interested, man.
Right. And
I want them triple P's, son.
Rand, this is why I actually, I don't know if you had heard me. This is why I said I'm bringing this up, not because I want to talk about the P's again. It's I wanted to go from the Division into it's something I've been actually just keeping track of for about 3 weeks now. I desperately see on YouTube digital foundries. Do me a favor, if you don't, just for a moment, don't sub to them. Don't give them any extra money in their pocket. But just in the search, click on Digital Foundries. Try and look at some of the stuff.
Damn, I'm already subbed to them. Do I gotta unsub? Shit.
Well, you don't have to. Listen, I tried no direction here. Just say I've watched a few of their latest videos, and now they have a lot more commentating than they used to. They used to just have music in the background and just show you the demographics of the lines in the bottom showing 60 frames and how it would hit. Now they have a lot more commentating because they know nobody's clicking on their shit to just watch lines go up and down. Number two. They are so desperate. I mean, they're so desperate. At this point, they had a week of just the backwards compatibility games and showing the backwards compatibility games frame rates. Listen, it's a 360 game. You know what I mean? Like, I just played, the other night I played a bunch of Gears of War 3 Horde mode with a bunch of guys that I work with. They just like to get on, drink beers, bullshit, and play Horde because, you know what I mean? It's no thought, just play, talk shit. And who gives it? Like, there's no time at all during that entire 3 hours session where somebody was like, "Oh, this is jaggy. This is locking up." Nobody said anything. Nobody cared. It's an Xbox 360 game. That was back in the time when we didn't give a shit about all this crap. And this is my point. The demise and the fall of digital foundries is on the rise, people, because gamers don't care. And Inferno is a good example because there's certain people that listen to this podcast and go, "Oh, it's just Xbox. It's just Xbox." No, I try to get around and talk about everything. And my point here is that nobody gives a shit. Because, listen, if you want to put a $4,000 PC next to my Xbox One, I see a difference. But I have a PS4, and it sits right next to the Xbox One, and I don't see a difference at all. At all. So Digital Foundries and everything that they're built on literally the most weakest structure I've ever seen something still surviving on. Like, all it takes is all of us not caring anymore, which is what's happening in the community. Xbox folks don't even care anymore. They say something like, yeah, whatever you said, but I don't even care. 900p, 1080p, my eyes can't see it. Like I said, who's playing a video game with two monocles in their eyes?
True. I like it just for the simple fact, as a historical record of the technical problems or greatness that a game can achieve. It's interesting knowing, not being able to make games like, okay, this game is, this
Randall's all about them keys, son.
No, I'm not. I really am not.
It's down to brass tacks.
It's just interesting knowing, okay, how often does the frame rate fluctuate? Because I notice frame rate dips when I play. Like, it bothers the shit out of me.
Yep.
Like, resolution, I don't care. I couldn't care less about the resolution, but I will. Like, frame rate does bother me, a lot. So
same here.
The only thing that's screen tearing, that used to bother the fuck out of me.
But
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you guys play Borderlands or if you guys picked up the Handsome Collection, but Borderlands Handsome Collection, the pre-sequel. Yeah. Oh my, the screen tearing was borderline unplayable. I was getting sick off of that.
Well, here's my thing, though, Inferno, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I read about that, okay, and it wasn't from Digital Foundries, but I heard about how awful it was, so I waited for the patch to come through where they fixed it. But my point is this. Okay, so that's the extreme, because that's a really good example. That was a game that people said was almost unplayable because of the screen tearing. But there's plenty of other games, and I'll use a game, Bioshock Infinite. Was a game they said originally had those issues in the very, very beginning, too. I bought that game day one. I didn't have any issues with it. I didn't see any problems with it. And I think my point where I'm going with this is, Rand, listen, what you said is something that's very true and hits home for you. It's almost like saying to you now, well, I went to go buy this car, but before I bought it, Rand, I went to Consumer Reports, and I made sure it had a 5-star rating and that people in accidents in 1997 didn't get hurt. You know, like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? My point is this. You know, when there's a real reported problem, then I would tune to them and say, I got to go see what's going on. I wonder if Digital Foundries has something. These assholes are putting a show out, especially against Microsoft. Okay, it's ridiculous. Is any screen tearing shows on Digital Foundry showing PS?
Let me ask you something, Mooch. Let me ask you guys: Have they ever done any like negative PS4 games or
not to my knowledge
PC games or anything? Because it seems like I only see negative Xbox
only if you
resolutions.
I've seen it before. I'll be honest. I have seen it before on Digital Foundry, but it's when the Xbox is even worse. So they'll bash both of them a little bit. Yeah, a good example of it is Fallout 4. If you go watch the comparison of Fallout 4, when they transition between areas, they're like, Fallout 4 and the Xbox One, it's a full second between areas, but on the PlayStation 4, it's like 45 milliseconds.
Right.
You know, so they'll bash them both, but the Xbox
One. But what South is alluding to is a PlayStation 4 exclusive.
Oh no. They would never do that.
No, God forbid. Right? Because
you know, I've played a lot of Ark. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people in the community that's played a lot more.
Right.
But everybody knows it's a game in progress. And the frame rate sucks balls, and it hangs up on you, but that doesn't degrade the fun factor and being able to play with your friends and everything else. And, you know, just going strictly on the frame rate and you know, all that, the resolution is really a disservice to that game because it really is a fun, interesting game.
And I guess I should clarify, Mooch. I'm for Digital Foundry if all they did was present the facts.
Correct.
Like it's this and this and this. Right? But it's where they have the commentary that bothers me. Like, if they use it for the console war. Like, if you were just say, okay, so Division is 900p on the Xbox One, and it runs at these frames, and that's all they say about it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then they say the PS4 version is this and this, but they make no comparison. It's just, these are the facts. But it's when they start being like, well, you know, it's because of the Xbox One inferior GPU and all, you know, and they start like trashing that. Or even like South was saying, like the Ark, a game preview.
Well, remember when they did Halo 5?
Yeah.
Remember when they did Halo 5 and they gave it like a glowing review, but then until the last fucking paragraph, then they're like, oh, but if you really look at it, it's like, oh god, you just fucking stroked the shaft, cut the balls, and then now all of a sudden you just want to leave them with blue balls? Like, really?
Their thing with Ark is ridiculous, though, because it's a game on PC, right? A game on PC that is known to melt rigs, very demanding fucks, and they got it running on Xbox One, which is almost kind of like, I'm not going to say a miracle, but a good work of engineering. It doesn't run great. It's a game preview, and they just shit all over it.
Yeah.
It's like there's a contingency of people out there that are like, if it's not 1080p and if it's not 60 frames per second, how could you have any fun? How could you play such a travesty of a game?
And just like you said, if Digital Foundries was just there to report the facts, none of the useless banter in between where they smash and they degrade the Xbox One, that's one thing. And that's why I don't understand. There's a lot of people in the YouTube community, and I think they're trying to get clicks now. They're making videos and they're saying, there's no media bias. There's nothing wrong out there. What do you think? People are getting paid off and Sony's paying people? I've never said that. It's not that they're walking around giving people blank checks or envelopes with cash in it. That's not the way things are done. That was 1920 that worked out well, not so much now. But they're doing something. We just said it ourselves. There's nothing on Digital Foundries that has broken down the glitch or the issues or anything that happened in Bloodborne or anything that happened in the Order. There was nothing. Nothing. You don't see anything, but they're actually taking time at Digital Foundries to humiliate the backwards compatibility of Fable or a game that has come out for the Xbox or Halo Reach. I mean, it's asinine, and that's just another level. And I actually have something here. Shout out to Jamie Moran. Jamie sent out a really, really interesting post here. Now listen to me, everybody. Mitch Dyer, who works for IGN, and he's part of the, if you will, picture IGN supposedly divided into 3 or 4, if you will, PC. They have Nintendo, they have the Sega guys, and they have the Xbox guys. Now, I mean, that doesn't mean they're committed to them wholeheartedly, to go to war, but they're divided that way. Mitch Dyer is one of the people on the Xbox podcast. This is what Mitch Dyer tweeted out. I don't know if it was today. It's listed as today as far as 4 minutes ago, but just hear me out. He goes, never mind Far Cry Primal, Hitman, The Division, Mirror's Edge, Deus Ex, Pokken, Adrift, Uncharted, Star Fox, Overwatch, Homefront. Then he keeps going, the next tweet, because he ran out of characters. Firewatch, Oxenfree, Darkest Dungeon, the Dragon Cancer, Thersis, The Witness, XCOM 2, Unravel, Fire Emblem, Street Fighter V. Chill 2006, smiley face. Now, let me just break down what I mean by reading all those off to you. This individual, I'm trying to stay PC for Southbound's sake, he's an Xbox guy.
Gee, thanks.
Well, you always say I go after people. I'm just trying to prove just something to the audience here. This guy gets on, and he's saying all of these games for 2016, 2 of which that just ring a bell, Uncharted and Street Fighter V, we know are clearly a PlayStation. He didn't mention Gears of War 4. He didn't mention Quantum Break. This is what I'm saying. If you don't think a lot of money goes into marketing, Sony has something going on where they don't want Xbox talked about. How do you do that? I don't know. I'm not in the know. I don't know. One day someone's going to write a book and make a lot of money on this. But why would this person, who supposedly does a lot of the writing, the articles, and reviews for Xbox games, put a 280 character tweets out showing what's coming in 2016 and not mention not one Xbox exclusive, yet 2 or 3 PlayStation 4 exclusives, and we know the PlayStation 4 is an awful lineup in 2016. I don't want to hear about the Japanese small titles. To me, they're irrelevant. So, I mean, literally, do you guys see where I'm going? This is where I want to transition this conversation into a little bit of what is the media bias. This is an Xbox guy, not an Xbox guy. That's the wrong way to put it, because then you think that his allegiance, he has no allegiance to anything. But he reports and works on the Xbox side of that company. And here he is, he puts out, and if you don't believe me, just listen to the 135 episodes of Podcast Unlocked and tell me how many times Mitch Dyer says something positive about Xbox since the Xbox One release in 2013. If it's a drinking game, you're going to go to bed sober. So, like, literally, there's nothing to that. What do you guys think? I mean, am I the only one that's seen this? I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie that came out in the late 90s. It was called They Live, with the guy who passed recently, Roddy Piper, where they put the glasses on and you can see the alien.
Roddy Piper? That's
Remember
classic.
That was a great movie. They Live. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a classic. I think I'm one of the only people that got a pair of those sunglasses that I can see this bullshit that's going on. Does anybody else on the panel agree with me, or at least do you see something? Do you see anything?
I'm kind of shocked to include Homefront.
Me too, to be honest.
I mean, like,
right?
I understand why people are excited for, the game, some of those games you mentioned, but like Homefront for reals? Like, come on now. I mean, I don't know. Looking at this list, he's got. I mean, what the hell is Pokken? I've never heard of it. Maybe it's a PC game. I've never.
No. Pokken is like the fighting game for Pokemon. Don't ask me.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. It's a Pokemon game, so that's why I don't know about it.
Right.
Game.
The Darkest Dungeon, I've never heard about.
That's for Wii U.
Okay. Well, that's the Nintendo games, like, once again. All the other ones, sure. But yeah, it was kind of like, I did see that when Jamie, and I was like, well, I mean, if you're just talking about, like, because I think this is, like, supposed to be more, like, early 2016, because it doesn't really, well, all the stuff that at least Hitman's coming out in August, but all the stuff is, like, early in the year. But yeah, it was kind of weird he includes Homefront, but, like, not Quantum Break. And then
why wouldn't you include Gears or Quantum Break?
I mean, Quantum Break? You don't put Quantum Break?
I mean, those are 2 of the biggest titles, like, this year, period,
he
on any system.
He includes a couple indie games, but doesn't include, like, Cuphead, Below, or Inside, which are Xbox exclusives, but includes Firewatch, which is a PS4. I don't know if it's a PS4 console exclusive or a console debut. It's weird, and I know, isn't he on? I think Jamie calls him Shaggy or somebody. Isn't he on the X?
He's on Shaggy's podcast on Live.
Yeah, isn't he?
Yeah, it's podcast on.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe there's something there. Maybe it's just the dude's preference. I mean, I don't really know that
I don't
much
know if
about
you guys have
Mickey
ever
D.
seen. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise. Okay, Jack Nicholson. There was a point in the matter where he looks at Jack Nicholson.
You can't handle the truth.
Before he even gets to that, he says Santiago was supposed to leave this post at 6 a.m. and he hadn't called anybody. He hadn't packed a thing, and you said he was going to leave this base. My point in this is this. This is an Xbox guy who does an Xbox podcast. He took a lot of time and devotion. Let me tell you something. I'm on Twitter all the time. He's got 280 fucking characters on this thing. He took time and effort to write this, and you're telling me he's an Xbox guy, the media's not biased, and he didn't put one game from Xbox on there? Come on, people. Stop with the bullshit. Don't tell me that this is something that I'm seeing and you can't. This is it in black and white right here in front of you. And there's a numerous. We've already talked about 2 or 3 different things on this show that hold water, but there's been hundreds since the Xbox One launch. It's just getting worse. And my point with all of this is it transcends into bad sales. When you don't have people talking about it day in and listen, there's a lot of people that follow this guy. All of a sudden, they see this list, they copy it, they post it, they go, maybe things I should look at coming forward. You know, there's not everybody in the gaming world is as into it as we all are, so they don't know. So all of a sudden, you take this list, you post it aside. This is what Mitch that works at IGN for the past 5-6 years he's been there. He must know what's coming out. I'll keep this list to the side. Meanwhile, you look at it, and if you had a little checklist, like you said, it's either PC, it's either PS4 exclusive, or it's a multi-plat. And you're like it's mind-boggling to me. But yet there's people in the YouTube community in the past couple of weeks. I think that's just because they wanted to get some hits and clicks. Because when you say there's no media bias, you're trying to get that same Sony group to come out and say, "See, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong. The Xbox guys are crazy." Yeah, we're crazy. Meanwhile, I'm looking at 280 characters and I don't see one game coming out when clearly Xbox has the advantage in 2016.
I can't
Okay,
wait.
all right. Show me a different.
Do you want?
Show
you
me a
want
different person. I mean,
like-
obviously, Mitchy Dwyer, whatever the fuck his name is, he's
Wow.
he's a. I don't know. Do I even call him a non-fanboy or like what? I mean, what do you biased guy?
Well, this is
Who
my
else-
point. Listen, Sal.
In the media is anti-Xbox.
Well, hold on, Sal. I want to get back to that. But listen, is everybody that's listening to this show, and Inferno, I'm going to start with you. Go to South and Rand. Answer me this, Inferno. Here's the question I ask all the time. All the publications that are, then they're all located in California. You're telling me everybody over in California, San Francisco area that works for IGN, I'm sorry, Sal, the IGNs, the Kotakus, the Polygons, all those people, I mean, they're all Sony fans. They even took time after both consoles launched, to go out and ask them, and they did an interview in each of their own things. Of course, GameSpot being the most infamous for their every single person except for one poor girl at the end said Xbox One. You could tell she was lost. She didn't even know what was going on. She didn't know where the settings button was. But like literally, how can everybody in publication or part of the Associated Press with gaming all be Sony fans? Nothing is weird about that. Does that strike you weird, Inferno? Where do you come from? Because, I mean, on Four Guys with Quarters, maybe you can even plug your show a little bit here. I was going to have you do it at the end. But in your show, do you guys ever talk about this, or is it just kind of taboo because we know what happens and what follows when we discuss this?
Well, see, on our show, we try not to necessarily promote console wars to happen in the chat because it kind of detracts from, what we actually want to talk about. And the console wars, you're getting nowhere if we're perpetuating it. When you want to just quiet it by talking about it, you're kind of perpetuating it. But yes. I will say, because we're talking about the media bias, and it is a true thing. I will say on your first question about how they all have, all favor PS4, I will say that I do find it weird that whenever I look at a publication and I see a review from Multiplat and I scroll all the way down, they have in italics, a little disclaimer that says we were provided the game by X, and it's always Sony. Like I feel like it's always a Sony. It's always like we tested the game on the PlayStation 4, or we were provided by Sony PlayStation 4 copy, and even though it's a multi-platform, this is the console we reviewed it on. Right. So I know you guys have talked about it on your show before. We haven't gotten into it that much on our show, but I know you guys have talked about how, Sony treats publications in a different way and provides free things, and people like free. Yeah. So I mean,
and that's the thing. And let me just answer to your point though, Inferno, because you said something. I don't bring it up but first of all, wait. You said something that really hit the nail on the head. You said when you bring it up, you are part of the console war. I can't agree. I can't agree with you anymore. Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of people in the YouTube community that start some of their podcasts where they go, "We will not talk about it. We will not go." They sound like Bill Pullman in Independence Day. "We will not go quietly into the night." This whole speech. And I go, "Listen, save it. The minute that you brought it up, you've now entered into the, you're in the no man's land at this point." So I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. But literally, there's something. I don't bring it up to cause the war. I'm actually trying to bring it up. I'm bringing it up. Yes, it does stir it up. But I'm trying to show people on the other side, the Sony guys. I don't have to sell the Xbox guys. They see it. But the Sony guys, and I get tweets all the time. Don't be fooled. Every day, a Sony guy will go, "I still prefer my PS4, but after the article you just linked and made a comment to, or I saw this or I saw that, now I'm starting to see what you're talking about." One guy actually said #respect last week when he said it. And I said, "Listen, I got to be honest with you. I'm not looking for anybody to goose step behind me. All I'm trying to say is this. It's happening. Open your eyes, people, and it does affect sales. It affects sales. It reverts back to that thing. It's mass marketing, millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars go into marketing all the time. Those Super Bowl ads are not $25 million, $30 million for a half a minute for nothing. It's because it really does depend. So when you have people that are constantly in the press putting out negative ARC news, negative backwards compatibility news, ready? Only good things to be spoke about, drawn to death. Only good things to be spoken about. See, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not that it's always negative. Sometimes it's just purely positive on the PlayStation side. That's just as bad. You're telling me that a game is perfect? Metal Gear Solid 5 gets a 10 out of 10? I mean, who are we kidding? That game's not a 10 out of 10. It's just not. So, but because it's Kojimi's
minutes of it was really great.
What's that? Would you say, Sal?
Yeah, the first 45 minutes was top notch.
Absolutely, I'll agree with that.
I don't know. I heard everybody like the first half of the game. The first half of the game, they say, was just phenomenal, but you could tell that the game was not finished.
I think
Konami and up to snuff.
I think you kind of need to look at this as looking at these like IGN and all these corps, like the media, as like businesses, right? They're gonna do what they do, they're gonna do what's best to get them clicks and ad revenue, right? And yeah. I think they figured out the best way to do that. It's kind of to upplay the PlayStation 4 because it has more users, and downplay the Xbox, because if you do that, you have the Xbox users that will come in the article to read what they're saying and trash them, but then you'll also have the PS4 users to come in there and laugh at them. So they get like double the click. It's Absolutely. Purely business. They're just in it for the ad revenue and the clicks. That's all they care about.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I've always seen about that.
It's clickbait, and if you think that Sony is not, like Inferno said, if they're not supplying the games, the free consoles and everything else, if you think that that's not a marketing.
Well, we're losing. No, South is in West Virginia. He's in the middle of a storm and using satellite internet. So,
yeah.
Sorry, we lost you for a minute there, South.
Well, as far as like the codes that go out, last gen, it happened. Like last gen, all the journalists got 360 codes. Because so publishers can they decide which versions of the game to send out, and they want the best representation of their game for the journalists to play. Last gen it was a 360 because it was, even though the PS3 was technically, I guess, like a stronger machine, it's just the devs were just more comfortable with the 360, so the 360 versions of games were always better. so they would always send out 360 versions. This gen, with the PS4 being better, hardware-wise than the Xbox One, all the developers. I don't think there's a conspiracy there. I think the publishers just want the best version of the game being played. So, I'm not sure, when marketing deals apply. For instance, The Division, if it's 1080p on the PlayStation and 900p on the Xbox One, but Microsoft has the marketing deal. I'm not sure.
No, it doesn't matter, Rand. I've been paying attention to that, and I don't have the specifics. If I have to, I'll break them out. But I watch IGN just being the largest one. Whenever they do their Let's Play before a game comes out a week before, the table they use, it's key because their hands are up on the table while they're playing it. You can see them playing the game. They always have a PlayStation 4. Even for Fallout, which is marketed by Microsoft, they had a PlayStation controller in their hand. So my point is that they always, regardless of. Here's my thing though, is
that's what I'm saying. It's just they're going to give the journalist the best version of, or what they think is the best version of the game.
Yeah, but is that even an acceptable? I'm sorry. Then it goes back to my argument I had 12 to 18 months ago with lazy developers. Because to be honest with you, in this day and age, Microsoft, we got all kinds of the new APIs out there. There's no reason that one should be better than the other one at this point in time. There's no reason at all. It's horse shit, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean,
it's horse shit.
The PS4 is a stronger machine. I mean, there's no
on paper.
Well, yeah, but okay. But the thing is, I don't really think devs are late. There's just not enough time, money, and experience to go around. They can't. It probably would be a different story if they had as much money and time and the best engineers to give a project to match at the PS4. Maybe it'd be possible then, but they don't. There's deadlines. There's not always enough money. There's not always the best, because not every, in your job, you're good at what you do, but that doesn't mean they could just swap you out with some fucking scrub they found off the street and get the same production value out of it, right?
Well, I know, I agree with you.
An engineer or a dev at Remedy is going to be a hell of a lot fucking better than the dev at fucking some shitty.
Yeah, but what you're talking about with the skill set you're discussing, Rand, is the actual programming to create the game. What I'm saying is resolution and tweaks at the end. That is something that you would call not an everyday engineer that they would have, but that to get them to the parity I'm talking about on resolution. I don't think that's where you need that high-end, high-skilled guy that's not replaceable.
Well, so are you saying, for instance, let's look at Metal Gear 5 for an example, right? So Metal Gear 5's 1080p 60 frames per second PS4 and 900p and 60 frames per second on the Xbox One. Are you saying they intentionally made it like that, or they didn't care about the Xbox One version?
Better put. It's a combination. It's not that they didn't care. It's not that they did it deliberate. They did not do it deliberate. I will go on record and say they did not do it deliberate. I will say this. The Xbox version, by the same individual, probably needed an extra 10% more work put into it, and they didn't. And that's where I say lazy. Because let me tell you something, Rand. No matter how busy you are in a New York restaurant, the plate next to you that you order the same thing, even if you got 300 tables, has to look and taste the same. Okay? Why am I a lesser customer? Did I not give them $60? My point is, so if it takes 10% more to get mine to get to that, work, not energy or chipset or anything else. That's a you problem. That's not a me problem.
Well, then that comes full circle though, Mooch, because they see, I know you guys last week talked about MPD numbers and stuff, but they see the install base of the PlayStation is, a little bit higher. In North America it's only a little bit higher, but in other countries it's way higher. So in other regions, so. Why put in? They probably are saying, why put in that 10% if I'm already going to get my bread and butter on that.
So wait, so Inferno. So based upon what you just said, though, okay, when me and you go to the same restaurant, your plate should taste better than mine because you make more money than me, right? But we both paid $50 for the steak.
Well, I don't necessarily think.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think the restaurant analogy is the best one because
it doesn't. But it does.
Yeah, that's kind of comparing apples to oranges.
I don't think it is at all. My point being is I'm paying the same amount. You know what? Then fine, 900p. Mine's $49.99. Let's go. Let's get out the door. You know what I mean? Why am I getting a lesser product? Because you don't want to put the effort in?
Well,
right?
okay, but that's was it. Is it a lesser product though? Is the like I will say it's not. It's the same. Like, look, I know people will say, and I see people. There's like a fanboy war going on in chat right now. But
I'm not even paying attention.
I understand, like 1080p, 900p. I understand the difference between the two. I understand one is pushing more pixels than the other.
Right.
But let me tell you this: I've played, and South and Mooch and everybody can vouch for me. I've played 1,185 games on the 360 and the Xbox One combined. I probably played more games than pretty much everybody in chat combined right now, right?
Definitely.
I've never had issue with resolution whatsoever. I never sit down in a game and wonder if it's running at 720 or running when it's 1080. It's never impacted the enjoyment of the experience of the game. It's only something you can ever see, like in Digital Foundry, when you blow up the picture and you're like, oh, guys, look at that jaggy on that guy's shoulder. But then you look at this other version, it's not there. Who cares? If you have to blow it up and look at it with the fucking goddamn Microsoft, you're not going to fucking see it while you're playing. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen. Because you're looking at other I'm sorry. Like, I'm not looking at for imperfections while I'm playing. Like, yes, I said earlier on the show, frame rate bothers me. It fucking does. I have, like, when frame rate fluctuates, I see it. And it bothers me, so that matters to me more. Resolution doesn't mean jack. It means jack and fucking shit at the end of the day. Now, I understand that you can both have resolution and whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like, Quantum Break at 720p or Quantum Break at 1080p is going to be the same fucking game, regardless. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
all this stuff, like...
Okay, so you know what, though? Listen, Ren, I would be willing to drop my shields and agree with everything you just said if the media would shut up about it then, too.
Yeah, but the media is a business. They're out for themselves. They know that this shit gets clicks and fucking and ad revenues. That's why they always bring it up.
Because here we are talking about it.
Exactly. That's why I said what I said about the stake in the same value, okay? If it's about the business and it's about the money, okay, if it's what it comes down to, it's hurting Microsoft's brand that these people won't put the extra work in to get it up to 1080p. And that's bullshit. If I'm Microsoft, I'm pounding my fist.
I'm sure Microsoft has had discussions.
Then you know what? It comes to the people. Right? No. Yeah, you think that the guys from Microsoft ain't sitting there and they're pissed off, wondering, well, why are they getting this treatment and we're not?
Right. That's my point. It always comes back down to the dollar value. That's why I said the restaurant thing. It doesn't matter how you look at it. My point is, if I'm walking out, listen, Rand, me and you go to a party, right? We have the same party, we have the same food, we have the same drink. At the end, we get to-go bags, what do they call it there? Like amazing, gifts in a bag, and we're both leaving. And you got a controller and 2 games. And I look at my bag. It's not that they wanted to do, but they just effed up and they just gave me a controller and a game. Mm-hmm. I'm like, where's my other game? And you're like, Mike, did that ruin your party, Mooch? That ruined your whole experience at the party? The party was amazing. I didn't notice any difference. Did you? The party was one of the best parties I've been to in 2015. What are you talking about? And I'm like, but Rand, when I left, you got more shit than I did. And listen, that's just, it pisses people off. What I'm saying is,
yeah, I get it pisses people off.
All I'm saying is, if my goodie bag at the end of the party is less than yours, then I want to be charged $15 or $20 or $50 less than you. You know what I mean? Depending, everything's relative. But what I'm saying, all I'm saying is, Microsoft has other things that put them ahead. We all know dedicated servers being one of them with Azure. But the developers have come out and said, we're not going to give you that option because it gives Sony the unfair advantage. Well, go after yourself, because you're giving Microsoft the unfair advantage in criticism in the media, in sales, and it hurts them. And like you said, as far as us gamers, you're 100% right. I've never looked over at my wife or me and my buddies are talking about a game and been like, this game blows. Why? You don't like it? The mechanics are bad? No, it's missing peas. I've never said that, right? I've never said that, and you're right. I'm not everything you guys are saying I agree with, but my argument is still the same. If I worked for Microsoft, things would be changed. You know what I mean? Like, you do not do that to a company like Microsoft. They're a big company, and they're good. They're really nice to everybody, it seems. It seems like everybody says, boy, when we work with Microsoft, it's been nothing but a treat, and it's amazing. They're good. They're this and that. They always send people for help when we need them. Like, I don't know. Like, Microsoft sent people to Bungie, right, before Destiny came out to get it to 1080p. We know that because it was rumored that Destiny was going to be 900p on the Xbox, and Xbox was like, the hell it is. We'll send some people over and help you tweak this shit so you don't have the 10% manpower. We'll help you out.
Yep.
And I think that's what happened with The Division. They see that this is going to be a very powerful game in the media, and they don't want to start with one leg in the ground already. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't know, guys. Like I said, it really is beating a dead horse in one way. But what I try to enlighten the audience that listens to this and passes it on, and even people that hate us and don't like the Xbox community, is you got to understand there's ridiculous bullshit going on where the Sony box can do this with less required work, and that's fine. Microsoft's box can do other things that give them the advantage, but developers won't do that, like using dedicated servers in certain areas, because that gives Xbox the advantage. So they'll give one company the advantage and not the other. That's where my beef is. That's where my whole stance is on the media. And like I said, don't get me wrong. It really is. It strums up console war. It's not the idea that I'm trying. I don't want anybody to argue on Twitter or on here or on YouTube. That's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is just open your eyes, people. There's a lot of shit going on. It goes from the media to the YouTubers to the developers. It goes into the the IGNs and Kotakus of the world. And all of that is what's resulting in Microsoft fighting one of the largest uphill battles in marketing I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And that's why they can't catch up. How do you catch up when everybody's against you?
But it's not. I had this discussion with Tim and Wolf last night, but it's not about catching up with PlayStation for the Xbox One. It's laying the groundwork. It's laying the groundwork for the next Xbox system.
That's right.
Like I think Phil has. He hasn't. It's a tough task, but I think he's up to the job. Like his job wasn't. I mean, short term, yes, because when you're in your business, you have your short term goals and your long term goals, right? Like short term, like Phil got in there and needed to he needs the Xbox One to be profitable, make money. But long term,
right the ship.
Yeah, right the ship. But long term, it's about repairing the fractured relationship between the consumer, like the fans and Xbox, and how do you do that, right? How do you repair the said relationship? Not only but like fans, but I'm talking the media and all that stuff, because everybody was on them, right? So they're doing exactly what they're doing, like you introduce new IPs and put them out. You make the best online service even better with Xbox Live. Right. I know someone's gonna say in chat that PSN is better, but that's a fucking joke.
Right.
You just constantly you give people games with gold. You give them free games, but you just got to be open about it, right? So
right.
In 3 years, when the next Xbox launches in 2019 or 2020 or whatever it is, that relationship is repaired and Phil's done his job. But it starts with these new IPs and all this stuff that were to get the. Because I think the media saw the whole 2013 reveal and shitstorm as a way to just bash the Xbox and everything, and nobody would call them out on it because everybody felt the same, right?
Right.
Because if nobody felt the same, if everybody didn't feel the same, they wouldn't have done it. But everybody did. But that's my feeling on it. It's not about getting the Xbox One to catch up to the PS4.
The thing is,
that ship sailed. It's about making Xbox 2 or whatever the best place to play and to be a competitor, to rebuild the brand among the fans and stuff.
I'm completely on board with that, with what you said and what apparently you, Tim, and Wolf were talking about last night. I'm on board with that. But the one thing people always say is, Mooch, why do you want Sony to do bad? Competition's good. Let me just reflect that and put the mirror on everybody that says that. How about the media almost did so much damage in 2013 and early 2014? They almost did so much damage that they could have knocked Xbox and Microsoft out. Microsoft has been just fine. But they could have maybe had Microsoft step out of the game for a while or sell it to somebody. And then when you get somebody in there that doesn't have as much money as Microsoft, they're not going to keep up with all this shit that goes on the way Microsoft keeps putting money into shit.
Yeah, unless their company could have been like, you know what, we're out of the business.
Yep, we're out.
There's too much, but they felt it like they had to. They had an obligation to the fans, people like Southbound. Phil's like, man, I can't cut and run now. Southbound's gonna kill me. He's gonna pick up that phone. He's gonna yell at me. I gotta do it for South. It just kills me.
Right. Lots in the storm.
It kills me that literally we have this situation where people say that we the Xbox community, or we the people who favor a little bit more Xbox 60/40, however you want to do your slice up, a little bit more, we should always remember the competition is good and blah, blah, blah. But then meanwhile you have the media that spends every day. I would love to have sat in 2013, 2014 in all the, when they have their little meeting with the editors and everything, what are we going to talk about? I mean, they must have went around the table for 8 months and not one person was like, I'm doing a pro Xbox story. Nobody said that. There was nothing. Like, it was they almost killed the brand. I mean, like you said, Phil's job is not to win this generation. It was to keep Xbox afloat. So, I mean, you're 100% right. The more I hear that, that's not the first time I've heard that. I think I've heard you mention it before. I think I've heard Tim speak of it. I think that it's 100% accurate. But in the same being, if we were able to get a little bit of help from the media being like, wow, look at what Microsoft did. They changed there. Do you see, and now I'm going to transition to our last topic tonight, which is the the NXOE, the updates that we've been getting. Do you see how Microsoft listens, has a list, lets us all vote, and then not only lets us vote, it's a list that the people have created. Then we get to tweet it out, or however, Facebook it out and tell everybody, hey, Inferno, South, Rand, this is something I feel really deeply about. Will you go and vote for it? And then they go off the top, whatever the top 4 or 5 are every month and bring these wishes to fruition. And Sony just had a 3.15 software drop. Did anybody notice any perks or frivolous cool things they could do? Nope. Right? And what about 3.10? Oh, that's right. 3.10 bricked the system for half the consoles for the first 3 days until the patch had come out. So, I mean, literally, you've got Xbox that gives you a new software, new ID, new whatever you want. We asked for the leaderboard. Brand, you were huge asking for that. Where's my leaderboard? Here's your leaderboard. It's back.
We're asking for who's in the party. Boom, it's there.
There it is.
Boom.
I mean, and there's so many more things we're gonna get. This is still the infancy of this, this software program. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You're getting the IP. You're getting the new IP. You're getting the new software. You're getting listened to. Oh, we want a Gears of War remake. You didn't get a remaster. You got a remake from the ground up on that thing. Amazing. I'm playing the Uncharted collection. I have to force myself to play that thing. It's just Uncharted but repainted. You know what I mean? And it's 60 frames. Thanks. Don't get me wrong. 60 frames is definitely something I would say that we should always strive for. It really is nice. But the 60 frames on a game like Uncharted collection, stick it up your ass. Where's the multiplayer? Where's all the other shit you took out of the game? You just quickly patched that together so you had some sort of a PlayStation 4 bundle to put together for the holiday. You can see, I mean, I don't understand. Like I said, maybe I got to take these sunglasses off. I don't know if I'm wearing them at night too much or what's happening. But literally, the fact of the matter is just that nobody else seems to be seeing these issues, yet every month I got to hear everybody be like, PlayStation 4 won the MPD again, everybody. Let's all make a video. No, I mean, why are we applauding that? Why are you applauding mediocrity? Like, I don't understand that. It bothers me to the nth degree as a consumer, not as an Xbox fan. And that's what do you guys think? I mean, what do you guys think, A, of the updates we just got in the preview program, and what do you think of the system overall? I think Mike Ibarra and his team should be commended. They're doing a fantastic job.
Well, before I say anything about the system update, I want to go back to what you said about the voting system, about making how we can feel like we actually make changes in the console for the better and what the majority of the people, the players, want from their system. If you recall, Sony recently added the ability, and we talked about this on our show at length, so I don't want to go too much into it, but I mean, I want to say that Sony added the ability to vote on getting which PlayStation Plus games you wanted. There were there's now 3 that you can have, and people vote.
Oh, that's right.
To see which PlayStation Plus game that they want. So of course people are like, oh, why doesn't Microsoft do that with Games and Gold? Why do they keep giving us this kind of game and this kind of game? And so, point being is that the companies out, the media out there, all of a sudden voting was a cool thing because Sony did it with the PlayStation Plus games. But we've had voting to change our console dashboard and console features in the Xbox for a long while now. But all of a sudden Sony does it with the PlayStation Plus games, and it's a cool thing. So I mean, kind of tying in the new features with the media bias kind of thing. I think it's something important to be said.
It really is,
well, didn't Sony announce their own little preview program here not too long ago?
They haven't done anything with it. Nothing's even happened, and that's
I haven't heard nothing about it since. They said that they were going to, but you haven't heard nothing since.
Inferno asked me a question when I was on Four Guys with Quarters podcast. He asked me that question, and I'm glad he brought it up, and you actually said it perfectly, Inferno. What I said to him was basically that the Japanese, this is their style, it's their culture. They don't ask you what do you want. They give you a menu of 3 games, and they're like, you pick one of these.
Mm-hmm.
That's different than what do you want.
Right.
Okay? And that was the key thing there. The other thing is that they literally have done, they put all this press out. See, Sony does this. It's so strategic, guys. Like Southbound, you just said it. They did do something like this where they did their own preview program and this and that. So when somebody's arguing with you on the Sony side, they're like, well, Sony has that too. You know what I mean? So you can say that, but you don't get anything. It's like the same thing Sony does at E3. Do you guys realize the absolute mockery they made of the gamers last E3? They showed you The Last Guardian. They showed you something that was actually shown 8 years ago. It's the same clip. It was the same clip. After 8 years and you're telling me the game's going to come, you didn't even have a guy on stage with a controller playing the game yet? In 8 years, you're showing me the same clip, but everyone's fainting in the stands and clapping their hands in the fucking aisles? Let me tell you something. Then you got the Shenmue 3. Just because everybody was talking about it on Twitter, they ran over to Japan, grabbed this guy in a duffel bag, brought him back to the States, and threw him on stage. Looked like he hadn't eaten in days. And he was like, everybody wants to ask me who I am and when it's coming out. Get the hell out of here. That was completely a show. Now, if it comes out, it's not going to be a fraction. It won't be a shell of what Shenmue 2 was. It won't be a shell of what you guys wanted. But Sony's doing all this smoke and mirror bullshit, and everybody's falling for it. There's no preview program. You're not getting games you wanted. You're getting games they tell you can pick from. You're not getting Shenmue 3. You're getting Shenmue 2.1. Okay? And you're not getting The Last Guardian until maybe the last year of this console generation. So this is just joke after joke after joke from Sony, and yet you have media and everybody blasting how amazing Sony is this generation. And, shout out to one of our listeners right now who actually put out a really cool thing. His name is, was it there? Oh, let me find him real quick. Oh, shoot. I'll tell you what he said, and then I'll give him a shout out. Here he is, Troy, at Troy Reddy. He goes, Mooch, if it's not the same, meaning going back to resolution, if it's all but the same and it doesn't matter about, the Ps, and it doesn't, the developer's like, who cares, 1080p? Then make them both 900 and let's move on with our lives. You know what I'm saying? Because the dedicated servers on Microsoft's part makes them the clear advantage. So make these both 900p and we'll use your shitty servers that you have dedicated from your own company, and everything is equal. It's just it's so much ridiculousness that's in the community.
But the problem is that Xbox, Microsoft doesn't have the power play to say, hey, you know what, you need to make sure there's no parity.
Right.
You got to make sure.
Yeah, Microsoft is in
a... They don't. Are gonna.
You're botting out pretty bad.
Poor guy.
Microsoft's in a tough position. They can't throw their weight around anymore. Like they used to do it with the 360 because they were number one.
Right.
But because you go to develop, it's like you remember hearing about that parody thing they had with the id games, right? Where they couldn't release and stuff like that. But then
crap gamer over here.
Right. But they had to get rid of it because they realized that if you go to a developer and they're like, well, you either have to release first with us or never at all,
right.
Then most developers would be like, okay, we'll just go with Sony and Steam then, no biggie, whatever. Because
right.
Microsoft's they're number 2, well, number 3 if you behind Steam and Sony. So they had to change their corporate culture essentially because now. Yeah. They have to be more welcoming. They can't go and say your game has to be 1080p because then the developers, is gonna be looking at it and be like, so what if it is? What are you gonna do? What are we gonna do? Like if they went to say Deus Ex, right? Say Deus Ex coming out, it's 1080p on PlayStation and 900 on Xbox or whatever. And right. Microsoft's like we need that game at 1080p. We need it to be whatever. And if you can't do it, then we don't want it. And what's Microsoft going to do? Of course they're going to take it, regardless of the game, because then it's more exclusives for Sony. It's like they can't bully people around anymore. Sony is starting to throw their weight around a little bit more because they're number one. Like they used to throw their weight around back in the PS2 era, right. And they stopped doing it in the 360 era because they had no clout either.
Yeah,
So,
but you know what though, Randy? You're 100, again. You're really on par with what you're saying, and I'm not even going to argue with what you're saying. However, you do have to look at what we're talking about here. We're not talking about like Mooch and Rand Inc. in Pasadena, California. Like we're not out of, they're not a garage band here. This is like Microsoft. You don't want to piss them off either. I mean, they do have a lot of clout in the business, just in general. I mean.
true.
I just don't see how these developers have the balls. You've got these little indie developers that are coming out and making these crude statements to Microsoft. Well, F them because they said we had to go. When the policy was originally the way it was for indies, like you said, and then they made it a lot more lenient. But like, my point was, I would never come out publicly and bash Microsoft. I would try to actually conform and make them happy because. My God, they're a big fucking company. I mean, I do not want them pissed off.
Well, there you go. It's because those indies don't have PR like all these big companies do.
Right.
So they're only beholden to themselves. And a lot of these indie guys, like for instance, Jonathan Blow, his Witness game that's kind of getting trashed for being $40, right?
Right.
Do you remember, like, after he did Braid and they did the Witness, he trashed the fucking shit out of Microsoft,
Yes,
right?
He did. Yes,
right?
He did.
And what do you know? The Witness is coming to Xbox One. Like, it's like, it's kind of, I mean, plus the guy was proven wrong. He bashed them because, like, oh, they sold the game without my knowledge with the sale. He forgot he signed the paper. And then he had this other ridiculous claim that he had to, like, eat his words on and stuff. Like,
right.
It's ridiculous sometimes, but it's just because they're, like, for instance, like Microsoft has reputation managers on Twitter that that monitor everything, all the all the tweets from all the different like employees of Microsoft and stuff, because you can't say anything bad or wrong, But an indie guy, since it's just one or two people making a game, they can say whatever the fuck they want. Because if those guys say X-Bone, which we even saw with Star Wars, one of the developers said the X-Bone. Star Wars Battlefront still came out on the Xbox One, You also figure, you forget that developers are people too, and they have their preferences and stuff. And I'm sure some of them don't like Microsoft, and some of them love Sony.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even heard stories of people giving exclusive deals with Sony because they love them so much, as well as with Microsoft. Like, I really wanted to be with Microsoft because that's all I always wanted, so I'm gonna go exclusive with them.
Right.
It's not as like clear cut as you would think it is when you're dealing with the businesses, with businesses like this. But
no, I mean you make some really good. You make very valid points. I see where you're coming from. I don't know, for some reason I can't believe the audacity that some people have. Some of them justified, and that's fine. If you're justified, by all means, speak your mind. Don't hide something in because they're just a big company. But if you're just being a bitch, like they say, just complaining for no reason, it really bugs me. It really gets on my nerves.
No, it bothers me too. I mean, I see it all the time. Like, someone recently, one of the devs for what games called it the X-Bone. Like, I forget what game it was, and it was just like, really? Like, because the net, like, look, I don't have an issue with the term X-Bone. Like, I use it when my Xbox used to fuck up with me. I'd be like, God damn it, X-Bone! And Microsoft should have been smart and realized that was going to be the acronym because it's just an easy combination. But when you're using it on Twitter, like there are easier and fast. Because I see some people, they'll be like, "Well, I just use Xbone because it's shorter to say than Xbox One." It's like bullshit.
Yeah,
say X1, type X1. It's way faster than typing Xbone. In that case, you are meaning as a derogatory term. You are trying to bring like harm towards it essentially.
Unless we hook people up to lie detector tests, everyone will always say, "Oh, I don't use it." Listen. If you use it in any way, it's derogatory. It's not. It's just not a compliment. I don't give a shit how you slice it. I mean, anybody can say, "Well, that's not true. That's not how I do it." I'd have to rig you up to a lie detector test to actually tell. So it is what it is. But it's definitely derogatory, and you can even tell that it is because Larry Herb came out, and so did Yosef Mehdi. They both came out after the launch, and when people were calling it that in the media, they said, "We don't. We're not ever going to use that term, and we didn't really see that. We didn't see that coming." And that's fine. Whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, when somebody uses that, it's definitely to crack a joke. It's not at all a let's put it this way: even if you don't mean it as an insult, you're definitely not paying a compliment at that point in time.
I want to ask you guys a question. We kind of skipped over it, but as far as like the update, I wanted to ask Inferno and you, Mooch. How did you guys feel about the stealth launch of the Twitch party chat thing, where you can broadcast your party chat over Twitch?
Go ahead, Inferno. Take that away.
Well, me and Rand kind of talked about this yesterday, but I mean, I'll reiterate. Before this was a feature, when I would broadcast at Twitch, I actually have an Elgato set up where I actually purchased about 3 or 4 different wires, and I had to make a wiring diagram that took me like 30 to 40 minutes just to get this to work and to get the audio out from the controller and get the levels right and wire it properly in my Elgato just to have the party chat. And now that they've got it in, I'm pissed because now that's all the waste. But at the same time, I'm so happy they finally added that because like we're doing right now, we're having a podcast and we're not playing any games, but a lot of people are watching and a lot of people watch the replays and enjoy the content and the conversation. And what's better, than playing and having that kind of conversation? People like to hear more than one person talk, and I think that's definitely a value add. I think it's definitely going to improve the quality of Xbox One streams, and not to compare it again to Sony, but they already had this feature, and now it's just another thing that people can't, bitch about in the console wars.
Right. I mean, that is one thing. Now Sony had that feature, and it's funny because this is another thing that burns me is that, first of all, to answer your question, Rand, it's awesome. Okay, it's awesome because on many different levels. There's even podcasts you can do from that situation now, and that's going to be really cool to see
absolutely.
how people can utilize that. I think we're going to do one of those like on BGST.
Because I was thinking because I remember in the party with you and like PTKs, you're playing fucking Destiny, and it's a blast, man. Just imagine streaming that shit and everybody just like out there watching.
Tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
But the key thing here that I want to bring up, and it's Inferno said it, but everyone's been saying it. Do you know the Xbox One has had way more features out of the box in 2013 than Sony's ever had? I mean, they'll never get Snap. Okay, that'll never even happen. But there's been so many features, and so many people have said, and this is not at you, Inferno, at all, because it was all over the media, is Microsoft finally got what Sony has. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, are you really kidding me? Like, that's what you're going to... Like, I understand it's cool. It's neat. But anything that's like a YouTube or a Twitch or this third-party app, Microsoft's going to get it too. The only reason it was on Sony's first was, in case nobody caught the middle part of this podcast, and in case you were in a coma for the last half of 2015, Microsoft has a brand new UI they put out, okay? And that was nothing. Mike Ibarra said it on a podcast he was on. He said, this is not a little update. This is a major reform. We reformed the entire thing. I mean, from soup to nuts. This thing has been completely redone. So, all these little third-party apps that a couple, like Sony squeaked a couple in the past 6 months or 8 months or 12 months they've had it. Great. Kudos to you guys. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's Microsoft was rebuilding an entire infrastructure, and now they're getting to these little things. You can see, and here's my point. You guys go, oh, Mooch, you're calling it a little thing because Microsoft got it second. It's such a little thing to Microsoft after the build they just did. They didn't even announce this in their package coming out. Like Rand said, they snuck it in there. To them, it's just like, oh, yeah, and you know what I mean? It's like nobody, it's like having like, it didn't matter to Microsoft. They just didn't care. It's like sprinkles on a sundae. It's a little.
It's being worked on. It doesn't work properly. So that's why it's in the preview because they're working on it.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it just goes to show you because Microsoft's a software company, so I expect them to have bigger and better stuff when it comes to Sony. I forget people. I think sometimes I think people forget what the Xbox One was like when it launched, how terrible it was, and how far they've come since then. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like the party system back in 2013 was atrocious. Like, if you wanted to play Rise, you could only be in a party with 2 people. It was a joke. I've been on record. Like, I did a podcast back then, and I was like, this fucking system's atrocious. Yeah. And I got called a Sony pony, even though I haven't owned a Sony product in years. Right. I'm just very critical of the things I do like because I think it always could be better, right? There's things you could always do to make things better. But goddamn, Microsoft has really, what Phil has done, what Mike and his team has done, holy crap, what it is now compared to what it used to be, that shit needs to be applauded. And it's only getting better. For God's sake, even though I don't like it because I have no need for it, they did 360 backwards emulation, which is no small task, Right. You got 12-person party chat now. All these different things, they're constantly innovating and giving us more
That
features.
that was another feature they snuck out one night, didn't say anything.
All these things, and who knows what they're doing for future updates and stuff. Like, it's just gonna get more and more and more,
Yeah, Barr is on record saying that they have 2 more updates that are on the caliber of backwards compatibility, and a lot of people go, "Oh, OG Xbox? No. That's not what it's going to be." I think one is going to be family sharing, and the other one I completely have no idea. I've heard people say things, but he said he's got 2 more, big bombs to drop. Now, I think one will drop at E3 this year, and one will drop at E3 next year.
Think of like where it was in 2013 and where it is now, and then think of where it'll be in 2018.
Right.
Like how improved and stuff it'll be. I'm just like, I haven't felt so like I'm trying to, I'm kind of getting lost with my words here, but like I haven't felt this good and positive about Xbox in a long time, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they're on the right path, and everything's just I think we're well taken care of, essentially.
But of course. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What was I say? I just hope, hopefully, it trickles down to the media and everybody, and they realize it too. I know it takes some time for that shit to work, but I think in a couple years, I think you'll see a turnaround, Mooch. I really do, because I know we didn't talk about it all, but I honestly think VR is gonna flop, and then that's when like everybody's gonna turn on Sony, because Sony won't have any because they've invested so much money into VR that when that shit flops because it's so expensive, then they'll be like, well, where are the games? Well, we didn't have any games because we were investing in VR. Well, now VR is done, and then Microsoft's going to be here. Hey guys, look at all these new games we got. You want to come with the Xbox? Yeah, we're pretty good now. And that media will be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. That's all it takes.
That's a very good point. What were you going to say, Inferno? Before I chime in.
I was going to say, we're talking about how the progress from 2013, when they just had that disastrous reveal with a man that should not be named at the helm, and everyone will view that. We're talking about media bias here. People will view the progress and all the new features and stuff. They'll view that and they'll say, "Oh, Xbox is," instead of giving them praise and saying, "Oh, Xbox has gotten so much better. Like, try it again. If you tried it in 2013, you thought it sucked. You need to try it again because it's gotten so much better." Instead of saying that, they'll say, "Oh, well, they needed to do that because it's damage control, because they screwed it up so bad in 2013. So, I mean, It was just so shitty." Like, they'll just reflect on the negative instead of appropriately giving praise.
Outstandingly put, Inferno. Thank you for reiterating it. And anybody who's listening, it's not just me. Inferno said it himself. He is an independent guy of the show. He's got his own podcast. But what he said is what I've been saying back a couple segments ago, that it's how you put it, and it's how the tone is in the headlines, the way things are sold, the way things are preached through the media, and the wrong way you put things over and over again lead to people's misunderstanding, and it all affects sales. So it really is that, Inferno. What you said is 100% true. Instead of saying it in the light that you said it positively, like, you guys should really go out and take a look at the new advancements that Microsoft has done. It's been amazing. What an insane year they've come so far. Instead, they're like, my God, now is okay, but my God, that was just awful. Wasn't that awful? And then you just go down a slippery slope of just bad press that happened years ago.
Yep.
And
under different management. It's completely different management.
Yes.
It's like going to a restaurant that was so terrible. They open a completely new restaurant with new management, new staff, and everything, and you're going to call it shit because you went to it a year ago? Like, come on.
Yeah, because they kept the same banner.
Right. It's the same place because they kept the same banner, right?
Exactly. No, well put, man. Well put. Well, I mean, I'm going to do everybody, just so you know, I've been speaking to Southbound on Twitter. South has been trying to chime in. He's not only is he caught in the blizzard that is on the East Coast, but he's also in a very, very what is it there? Suburban, not suburban area at all. He's kind of lost in the woods, so he doesn't have good internet out there. But we really appreciate South coming on tonight and trying to be on here. I believe in a week and a half to 2 weeks he'll be back in sunny LA. And he'll have his internet back. So thank you, South, for coming out to the show and making it tonight. Inferno, go ahead and plug your show again and let everybody know a little bit about it more in depth and maybe where we can find you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Mooch. Really appreciate it and giving me this opportunity to plug the show. Thursday nights, we're going to set a new time, so you're going to have to check us out on Twitter at 4GWQ Podcast. The Four Guys with Quarters Podcast, just four guys that met, on Xbox, gaming, met each other in a party, said, you know what, let's just start a damn podcast. Let's get some average gamers together. Let's, have a dialogue with people in the community and people in the development community, and just have average people talking about the system, and that's what we do every week. So Thursday nights, twitch.tv/4guyswithquarters if you want to come watch that. On average, they're probably like an hour to an hour and 15 minutes for the shows, so if you want to come check it out, that would be awesome. And yeah, we've had these guys as guests on the show too, so I mean, it's a great show. It's a lot like this. So I mean, if you like this, you're probably gonna like our show. And that's not to say we're competing, but we like to support other shows as well. And really thank you for the opportunity, Mooch.
Thanks for coming on, Inferno. And Rand, do you want to give us an update, or are you waiting the suspenses for all of us to find out in months to come? How are you doing on your progress to 1 million?
It's actually going well. I'm at like 973,000, so it's getting close.
That's amazing.
Getting close.
That is absolutely amazing. Even the audience is still standing up.
Thank you.
But very similar to what Inferno said, I met Rand through a friend of a friend on Xbox and on here, and that's how we all kind of got into this. It's something that we all have. Here it is. It's another group of guys getting together. We don't know each other in our personal lives, but we know each other through either gaming or other things on YouTube through gaming podcasts. And we all seem to come together and have this thing that's mutually a big thing we have in common, and it works out. So gaming has actually become quite a social event. So people used to think that it was just for a bunch of people to sit in front of their computer and just sit there with the lights off and a towel around them. Maybe that's some of them. I'm not saying there's nobody does that. That's the PC guys. But the console, thanks to the things that Xbox Live and what PlayStation Network tries to do, they've become more social and opened up, made the world just feels really small. Last night we were all playing Destiny, and we had a guy from, shout out to Iron Wolf, we were playing a guy from London, guy from California, 2 guys from New York, 1 guy from Florida. I mean, it's just all these guys in the chat. It was awesome, man. It was a great time. Want to remind everybody to enjoy what they're doing. This is just debate. A lot of people always draw a line in the sand and hate on everybody. It's not about hating. It's just about enlightening yourself.
It's supposed to be fun, man.
That's
it's
right.
supposed to be about fun and entertainment, man. Don't take everything. Like I see people in chat. Don't take everything so seriously. Your life will be better for it. Come on now, God.
That's why I like Rand on the show, and I like it when Rand pops into any game I'm playing. He keeps me grounded. Thanks to everybody for coming out and listening to us tonight. We're doing CrossFire podcasts every Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern on the Mooch 78's channel. Thank you again. Keep gaming, guys, and we'll see you next week.